So guys, up until now, we've seen that a fight starts between Calvin and Bronson, but Calvin isn't using his full power. Then we see that Grease goes crazy and attacks people, but Calvin knocks him out just in time. Due to people being injured, Bronson and Calvin's match is rescheduled for the next day. Here, Rick tells Calvin to use all his power against Bronson, and we see that the next day Calvin starts fighting Bronson with all his strength, but Bronson still defeats him. Now, moving forward, we see that Bronson has won the match, and everyone is clapping for him. Rick says, "You really did something amazing, Master Bronson." Angelica also praises Bronson. Bronson responds, "We should also praise the champion because his last move was really impressive." Rick says, "This confirms that we will get the magic crystal, which means I can withdraw from the final match." Ramson says, "I've been waiting for a final match against you for a long time." Hearing this, Rick becomes stressed. Then we see a news report that Calvin deceived everyone. Calvin says, "Everyone hates us now, is this okay for you?" The owner responds, "Everything's fine, but tell me one thing, what was that last move? I didn't know you had such a move. I got so lost in that moment that I don't even remember what I did. If you want to name it, call it Spiral Boundary Fist and master it well." Calvin says, "I've deceived everyone and now I've lost too, so why are you still here? I know you did everything for us, and what if you lost? Next time, become even stronger and win the match, just like you used to." The owner says, "Why are you doing all this for me?" The owner replies, "Because you're like a son to me." Just then, Bronson arrives and asks about Calvin's injuries. Calvin says, "Now I'm in pain because of you, so let me heal you, or let me stay like this. It's been a long time since I've felt such pain, so let me endure it. Rick was right about you. I should have fought you with all my strength. It will be fun to see how your final match goes." At this point, Snap comes to meet Rick, but we see that Rick has locked himself in a room. Angelica is trying to get him out, but Rick says, "I'm not coming out because if I do, I'll be killed." Angelica responds, "You're talking nonsense, you have to come out." Snap says, "I came to encourage Rick, but I didn't expect all of this." Angelica says, "He's become stubborn and won't come out." Snap says, "Mr. Rick, now that Calvin has lost, everyone is very excited to see this year's final match, so please participate." Rick says, "I care more about my life than the tournament." Snap starts singing to encourage Rick, saying, "Many people have worked hard for this tournament, and there are many bets placed on it. Fans from all over the world have come to watch the final match, yet you're crying about your life. Don't you care about these people? Should everyone give up on their dreams? That would be truly shameful." He leaves, and Angelica says, "Snap is right, you should participate in the final, even if you die. Bronson will bring you back to life, so what's the problem?" Rick says, "You've never died, so you don't understand. Even knowing you can come back to life, death is still terrifying." Angelica responds, "I know you're scared, but remember, you endured 2 years of training. This match will end much faster than that." Rick says, "Training and fighting are 2 different things, and you'll never understand." Angelica, frustrated, leaves. Miz says, "Rick, do you remember when you first came to our castle? The boss had already planned out your training, and he wrote out the next 2 years of training in detail. What you're saying is strange, but that training was for someone who could defeat Kaiser's fate." Rick responds, "You're right, but the training had another goal. Bronson wanted to train someone who could fight on the same level as him. Oxen are used to fighting because they understand each other well, but the boss has been strong since childhood, so he's never met anyone equal to him. He always felt alone. His dream was to one day fight someone as powerful as him, and he hopes that tomorrow's match will fulfill that dream. You can withdraw from the match if you want, but at least consider the boss's feelings." Phyllis says, "Bronson is really excited to fight with you, so please have fun with him." Then we see a flashback to when Rick first arrived at the team headquarters. He shakes hands with Ramson, and Bronson says, "You don't have any experience in fighting, and your mana capacity is very low." Rick replies, "Can you tell all that just from a handshake?" Bronson says, "If you pay attention to muscle movements and mana flow, you can tell. As an adventurer, your talent and ability are 0. Do you realize this? Rick asks, are you telling me to give up? Bronson says, no, compared to talented people, you'll have to work 100 times harder. So, are you ready to endure all that? As Rick steps into the rank to face Bronson, the atmosphere grows tense. Bronson, with his imposing stature and confident smirk, exudes a sense of overwhelming power. He knows he's the favorite to win, and his arrogance shows in his dismissive attitude toward Rick. Despite this, Rick remains calm and composed, fully aware that he cannot match Bronson's raw strength. However, he has no intention of backing down. With a slight grin, he taunts Bronson, remarking that he may not be the strongest but has a few tricks up his sleeve. Bronson, unimpressed, brushes off Rick's words, confidently boasting that tricks won't save him. He claims to have beaten much tougher opponents, and Rick will be no different. As the fight begins, Bronson charges forward with a massive swing of his sword, relying on brute force to overpower Rick. But Rick's strategy becomes clear. He uses his speed and agility to dodge Bronson's attacks, dancing around the arena with precision. Bronson's strikes, though powerful, are slow and predictable, allowing Rick to stay out of reach. Each missed swing only serves to frustrate Bronson, who grows increasingly reckless in his attempts to land a hit. Rick, meanwhile, remains focused, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. His strategy is not to overpower Bronson but to outthink him, exploiting his overconfidence and lack of finesse. The battle between speed and power unfolds, with Rick determined to prove that brains can indeed beat brawn. Rick swiftly spins around and lands a powerful kick on Bronson's side, sending him stumbling back. Bronson loses his footing slightly, shifting into the very ground where he had confidently stood moments before, his arrogance momentarily shaken.